Hello.
Hi, Marisa. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I do.
Cool. Hello, everybody. Today, I would like to introduce to you Marisa. She is the marketing manager of the Brainstorm Connection and the representative. So she would tell us more about the high schools and middle schools in Texas, about their chain, and you could ask questions. Marisa, if you don't mind, I will translate into Russian too, and we'll
Of course.
start. Всем
Sounds
добрый
good.
день. Сегодня мы разговариваем с сетью школ и учебных организаций Brainpower Connection из Техаса, где есть возможность, как и у нас в Сургуте, получать нефтяное образование в сфере нефти и газа, хорошие возможности. Если у вас есть какие-то вопросы, пожалуйста, задавайте, будем рады ответить. So, Marisa, let's start. How are you today?
Good, good. It's
How's
first
the
thing in the morning here. So,
That's cool. Thank you very much for taking your time so early in the morning. So how's the weather there? What is the climate like in this time?
so it's a typical Texas winter, which is to say that it's about 70, it's going to be about 70 degrees Fahrenheit later. So not
Oh,
very cold at all. We're having some cold mornings, but still quite beautiful in the afternoons. So that'll probably stay around until January or so.
oh, that's cool. So
Yeah.
nice time to celebrate.
Mhm.
So could you please tell us more about the Association of Brain Power? What is that? What is presented by, and all this?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we are part of the Brainpower Connection. So that is a group of schools located here in San Antonio, Texas, that are all part of the same mission. So we're all private Catholic schools. And so we have four elementary middle schools, two high schools, and then one university that has programs for undergraduate, graduate, and even PhD. So I specifically represent the two high schools. So that's mostly what we'll talk about today, but I'm happy to answer questions that you guys might have about our elementary middle schools or about our university.
So let's clarify it for everybody because you've told that most of the schools are Catholic. So
Yes.
does it mean that you accept only Catholics or you're absolutely open for any religions?
Yeah, but it's the second thing, like you say. It's we're absolutely open for other religions. International students have been a huge part of our schools for we've had international students at our high schools for about 20 years. So for a long time, it's a really crucial part. At the university, we have about 600 international students, a lot of students from the Middle East, students from China, who obviously are not Catholic. So we have students from all over, and it's a really important part of our program.
So are there certain subjects that are imposed by the curriculum to study as a part of Catholic program?
So we are still a Catholic school, so we do have a religion class. And what we ask of students that are not Catholic, and even some of our American students are not Catholic, right? We ask, of course, that they be respectful and that they learn some of the basics, that they're learning those rules and that kind of thing. But it's not required to be Catholic at all.
Oh, that's great. So let's talk about location a little bit and special features of the area that we may take as an advantage.
Great. So we're located in San Antonio, Texas, which even if you haven't heard of it, we're actually the seventh largest city in the United States. And last year we were the fastest growing city in the United States. So we're an urban area of about 1.5 million people. So not an enormous city, not like New York, but we're still a large urban area. We have all the amenities of a city. And we're very beautiful. So in the US, we're actually known for tourism because we have a really beautiful downtown with a river. And we're surrounded by a lot of state parks and natural areas, so it's a really beautiful place to go hiking. And like we alluded to before, really warm weather. We're down in the very southernmost part of the United States, so we have a very mild climate with hot summers, but very mild winters. And then the other thing to know is that we're called the biggest small town in the United States, and the reason for that is that we're so friendly. It feels like you're in a small town. It feels like you know everybody, even though we're still a pretty large city.
So in terms of security, is it a secure area to live in?
Yes. So our schools are located in the Midtown area, just north of downtown. So we're in one of the safest neighborhoods in the city. I personally also live in the same neighborhood as the schools because it's a historic district. It's a very quiet area, so very safe. Yeah, and we have a very low rate of violent crime here. Um, and we're a historic city. We're one of the oldest cities in the United States, so you'll see that in our campuses as well. That we have some historic buildings on campus, very beautiful.
And also talking about Texas, why choosing this state? Because you have so many wonderful states. Why choosing
Mhm.
this particular?
Yeah. So like our city, which was the fastest growing city in the United States, Texas is one of the fastest growing states in the United States. And the reason for that is that it's a little bit lower cost, the lower cost of living than someplace like New York or California that you've heard of. But we have all the economic opportunities of those places. So we have a really strong oil and gas sector, of course. You may have heard about this, about Texas. That's a really strong sector for us. Tech is also really big. We have Google and Facebook and all these major tech companies that you've heard of. Tesla is going to open an office here. So we have a lot, really significant tech market here. We also have significant financial services, banks, stuff like that, consulting, as well as healthcare. So we have the largest cancer center in Houston. So we have a really excellent medical infrastructure here. So if you're interested in public health or medicine, we're a nice place to come, and at least we have great hospitals. So either way, so
So
we've got a lot going for us. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of even OPT opportunities for those
Yes.
then, because there are so many
Mhm.
companies, so they obviously need interns and prospective employees and
Yes.
all this. All right, so concerning the application, what is the average age for international students to start studying with you?
Yes. So we serve students about 14 to 18 years old. So you don't have to come when you're 14. You can transfer in later. Typically, we like students to come when they're 15 or 16, so that they have some time to adjust. They have time to brush up their English if they need to. But we also have students come as late as their senior year, as the 12th grade year, through our Pathway program, which allows students to just come for 1 year and then go on to our university. So we have a lot of flexibility with that. Obviously, we'd love for you to come sooner rather than later. But if you're interested in just coming for a 1 year experience or coming later, then we can work with you on that.
So, if we are talking about students who are struggling with their language ability, are there any special designated classes that help them overcome this?
Yes, we have an ESL class. So when you apply, we will ask for you to submit an English proficiency score. And we don't have a minimum cutoff score. And the reason for that is that we actually provide an ESL class that's part of the regular school day. It's part of regular tuition. It's not an additional cost. It's part of our program because we do really value our international students and want to make sure that they have the help that they need. So we do have an ESL class at both of our high schools. And you would get a placement test when you arrive to determine whether you need to be in that. And then you also would receive accommodations on testing. So what that means is if we look at your placement test and see that you're going to need a little additional help on things like final exams, then we're going to give you a little additional time. We might let you use a translator. We're gonna meet you where you are and help you with your English.
So it's fully immersive experience, and you're fully understanding and adjusted to the students from international
Yes.
background. Okay, where do the students reside? Because I know that you are not borders, you are not boarding
Yes.
school. Mhm.
So we have a very special setup, which is a little bit different than a boarding school. So we work with a homestay agency to find you a host family in our local area. And so what's really cool about this is that you get to actually live with an American family and experience the culture kind of firsthand. And so you get to live with a local family somewhere nearby the campus, and they're going to give you meals. They're going to provide you transportation to school. And you're also going to get to learn about American traditions. You're going to get to learn about the city and kind of get to live like a local.
So, who normally becomes a family for international students? Who are these people? Could you give some brief? Because people normally, we are not actually accustomed to this. So, the
Sure.
parents are worried.
It's actually quite common in the United States to host international students. A lot of families that do it also have teenagers that are the same age or students of their own that are the same age, and they want to have that experience for their children. Or it might be families that are planning to send their own students abroad. They want to have that experience of being a host family. My family, when I was in high school, hosted exchange students several different times, and it was a really enriching experience for our family. So I personally have experience with it, but it just depends. Every family is a little bit different. So a lot of some families will come from our school community, and they may have other students here, but they might not. Also, they might also just be interested families in the community or from a local church that want to host.
So, are you aware of the requirements that are presented to these families? What should be the house be like? How they should
Mhm.
behave? Maybe they are trained somehow.
Yes, they do receive training, and they also are all go through a background check process and a safety check process and all that kind of stuff. So what the homestay agencies are going to look for, obviously, is that the student has a suitable place to sleep, obviously, that they're not sharing a bed or anything like that, that they have their own space, that they have a space to study, that they have access to the whole house, and that that they have some privacy, that they have their own space, and that the family has the right expectations, that the family knows, what they're getting into, and that everyone is excited to be there, that everyone is really excited about the opportunity. So they're going to they're going to check out the house. They're going to speak to every member of the family and just make sure that everyone is on board.
That's good. So, what document is issued finally upon the completion of the school, and what possibilities that are really competitive advantages you have as a part of your program for international students?
Yeah. So we offer a U.S. high school diploma. So that's going to be a standard nationally accredited U.S. high school diploma. So that's accepted at every university in the United States and should be accepted by any university internationally as well. Um, the advantage of going to high school in Texas is that we have a couple of special programs here in our state that are really going to benefit international students. So the first one is the in-state tuition discount. So if you go to a Texas high school for at least 3 years, then you are eligible for in-state tuition discounts at public universities in Texas. So this is places like Texas A&M University or University of Texas at Austin, but any of the public universities. So that's a really special program. And it's important because in-state tuition discounts can be as much as 50% discount. So it's a very, very large discount. So that's important to note. The other program is called the Top 10% program. And so this one you would not need to do 3 years. If you've done at least 1 year and graduate from a Texas high school, then you would be eligible for this program. In this case, if you are ranked in the top, I believe it's actually this top 7%. It used to be 10%, and now they've changed it. But the top 7% of your class, when you graduate, then you automatically get admitted to University of Texas at Austin and Texas A&M University, which are the two best public schools in the state. And so this is important because it's actually very, very difficult to get into those schools as an international student otherwise. And they both have excellent engineering programs, petroleum engineering programs, business programs, some of the best in the States. So those are two huge opportunities.
That's amazing. And of course, they are very much relying on the knowledge that they have in AP programs. Actually, could you tell a
Yes.
little bit more because we don't have this reality? AP program, what's
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, so the AP program is a kind of honors program, so to speak, that is available in certain subjects in high school. Not all schools offer it, our schools do, and all schools offer a little bit different. They can choose which AP classes they offer. So we offer between 10 and 15 AP classes every year. Typically, we always offer it in English. We always offer it in some of the sciences, AP biology, and then just depending on demand, we may also have things like AP calculus and stuff like that. And so what those classes are, they're a standardized curriculum that's set by the AP company. But what it means is you can take a test at the end of the class and get college credit for that class, which means you can just skip that class in college, which is really great. So what it means is that you're able to function on a college level, and that if you can pass the test, then you can potentially save yourself some time in college. And then one other thing I note is that on top of the AP class opportunities we also have dual credit classes at our partner university, part of the Brainpower connection. So you can take classes actually at the university, on the university campus in person. And of course, those classes are also college credits. So you're potentially able to save yourself some time. And at the very least, you can get a sense of the college classroom before you actually start university.
So it means that you are potentially ready for your actually degree for undergraduate studies and not only saving time, but also understanding that this is suitable profession or this is not suitable. I just don't need it. I don't like it.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah. So how do you integrate students in the American context? Do you have any counselors who like help adjust or how does it work?
Yeah, great question. So of course we have the ESL classes that I mentioned, so that's a big part of it. Our ESL teachers obviously are there to help with any of your other classes as well. If you have problems in your history class and you're kind of not understanding, the ESL teacher can be a great resource to help you with that. But I also work full time at the school, so you will see me in the hallway. We have a full orientation for all of our international students, so that you can kind of meet the other international students and get to know the city. Typically, we'll go down to the Riverwalk and take a boat ride and get to see downtown. And we also have other field trips throughout the year for our international students to see the city and kind of get to know where they're at. We also in the past have done, obviously things changed a little bit this year, but normally we have like a monthly meeting of the international students and we go over a different topic. So we talk about different things. We might talk about like anti-bullying. We might talk about how to apply to college. We might talk about, you know, what help do you need? Like, how is your semester going? Just kind of do check-ins. So we do all sorts of things like that to make sure that they are getting integrated. And we also have an international club at one school, and we're hoping to launch the other one this spring. So that's a group of both international and domestic students. So that's one great way to start making friends, is to join the international club. And they also are in charge of helping out with new international students.
Do you have like any psychologists or some psychological consultants in your actually staff or team? Or...
Yes, so we do have a guidance counselor on staff. So they're available to help you with your college applications, but they're also there to help you with any mental health counseling, psychological counseling. If you ever need help, then they're there for you. And then the other special thing about our program is because we're connected to the university, you also have access to counseling services at the university as well through their counseling department.
So are there special prices for, aside of two programs that you have already mentioned, are there special prices for your graduates of your school, or no, just the same prices as for everybody?
At the university?
Yeah,
is there special prices?
That is connected.
Yes, so students that are graduating from our schools are going to automatically get a additional $2,000 scholarship to go to the university. And they're also going to be eligible for our merit scholarship at the university, which can be up to $20,000. So potentially they can receive up to $22,000 in scholarships and financial aid to go to the university.
So actually they are more competitive towards,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, they're going to be significantly more competitive to going to our university, as well as going to other universities in the United States, because they are going to have that U.S. high school diploma, which is going to be more competitive than coming in with an international diploma.
So if we are talking about oil and gas industry, do you have some orientations or maybe some field trips, something to familiarize them with this engineering petroleum industry specifics? Maybe you do some workshops to help them get oriented in the sphere to apply to the very specialty they are looking for.
We don't at the moment. If we had some students come in, we certainly could work on that. One thing we've done in the past, for example, is we've had students that are interested in health professions and medicine. And so as a result of that, we have a partnership with a local hospital. And so they're able to do volunteering and observations and stuff like that. So if we have a lot of students come in that are interested in oil and gas, we have lots of resources here locally. And so we would be happy to make that connection and try and set up some connections there. Yeah.
So let's talk about costs that parents are going to face. What is the price per year normally for tuition and some host family expenses they should take into account?
Yes, so typically the cost is going to be about $30,000 to $32,000, and that's going to include your host family, which means it includes all your transportation and meals and your housing. It's also going to include our tuition for the whole year, and it's also going to include health insurance. So you're going to be covered for all of your medical expenses. And then the only other cost on top of that, just to keep in mind, would be your uniforms. We are a uniform school, so you would need to get those when you get here. And then potentially some textbooks, and then a laptop. So at St. Anthony, so we have two schools, so they're sometimes a little bit different. One of the schools you would need to bring your own laptop, so that would be an additional cost you would want to keep in mind. At the other school, they actually provide laptops, so then you would not need to worry about it. But that would just come up as you're applying.
So, and also being at a high school, do they have a special breaks to go home, or they are normally spending the whole year studying and then for the summer they go home?
So we have a 2 week break in December. It's coming up next week. So we're all excited about the break. Some of our students will go home for the 2 week break. Some of them will stay here. It just depends on the student. And I would recommend, if you're going to come for a few years, to stay here 1 year for that break so that you get the experience with your host family of an American Christmas and American holiday. But of course, we understand the students want to go home and see their families as well. But then there is a 1 week break in March, which is the spring break. So depending on where you're from, our students from Mexico will go home for that week because they're quite close. And then we have the long summer break, which is from the end of May to mid-August. So that's a 2.5 month break. So almost all of our students go home for that break.
Yeah, that's great. And so what documents are required to apply and estimate the chances? And do you have any scholarship for outstanding students whose GPA is high, who is really brilliant in English or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. So the documents we're going to look at for application are going to be, of course, your grades, your transcripts from your school, either your middle school or any previous grades from high school if you've already started high school. We are going to do an interview. Typically, we'll do a quick interview over Skype or Zoom, just to kind of get to know each other, learn a little bit about what you're interested in, all of that kind of stuff. We're also going to want a letter of recommendation from your school. So that can be from any school official. It can be from a teacher or your principal or a different administrator. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to ask for an English proficiency score. So our preference is that be TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. If you haven't taken any of those yet, then we'll typically recommend the Duolingo English test because you can do it at home. It's much cheaper, and you can schedule it yourself. So that's, especially during a pandemic, is much easier. So those are the main academic records we're going to look at. We also require a bank statement, financial information, and your immunization record as part of the application process. But of course, we're not basing your admissions decision on that.
Mm-hmm. So what about COVID restrictions? Now, we know that we have to live with that for some time. We don't
Yes.
know for how much time. So parents are really worried about that. How are your classes held? Do you have some restrictions? How do you work? Maybe you have semi-hybrid online education.
Yeah, great question. So we have, so again, both schools are a little bit different, but both schools are doing a version of hybrid. So at the moment, our domestic students have the option of doing either completely online or partially in person. For international students, we do have some international students that just started online with us and have been doing online for this whole year. And I'm sure they would all be here as soon as they could be in another situation. But so international students that come to the U.S. based on the current federal law, current U.S. law, they would need to attend at least some classes in person if they were to come to the U.S. in person. If you'd like to start with us online, you can. You would just need to stay in your home country. So that's kind of the situation right now. So we have in-person classes today at the school at St. Anthony, which is where I'm at right now. And so we've been very successful. We've had in-person classes at least somewhat since August. And so far so good. So we've taken a number of precautions. We have plexiglass up everywhere. Of course, we have a mask mandate. We have socially distanced classrooms with reduced numbers of students. And we've changed the way we set up lunch, so the way we set up the hallways and all this kind of stuff to make sure that we're social distancing and keeping everyone as safe as possible.
So concerning immunizations, now there is a trend not to have some vaccines or something.
Mm-hmm.
If the family and the kid doesn't have like meningitis or some certain vaccines, is it a big deal? Is it really important, or how it's solved or resolved in this action?
Yeah. So in the state of Texas, you are exempt from vaccines if you have a medical reason, if you're allergic to something, for example, or your doctor has indicated that you do not have to take them because of some medical condition. then you do not have to meet the Texas state standards. But there are no other exemptions, unfortunately. They're very, very strict here, and especially during a pandemic, we are quite strict with the vaccination regulations. And if you have any questions about that, we go by the Texas state standards. So I can send more information about that if you have a question.
Yeah, I've familiarized myself. I've seen that actually meningitis concern is very big, so you really require to get
Yes.
meningitis. But oh, of course, it's all doable, so we can do that. Okay,
And one note about the immunizations is that what some of our students do is they'll actually come a little early and get their last rounds in the United States because in some countries not everything is available. So it's also possible to do it in the United States. You would just need to do it before you start classes.
Oh, all right. So all immunizations with American vaccines, are they available
You
as a
can.
part?
It's an option. Sorry.
Are they available as a part of the medical care actual insurance, or you need to pay extra?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So most of them, so if typically if you have a letter from our school saying that this is because they're all routine vaccinations. So typically they are free of cost with our insurance. And you can either get them at the University Health Clinic, which is part of our network, or you can get them at a drugstore or a grocery store because they're routine vaccinations. So typically pretty easy. Yeah.
Okay. And the final question is that what extracurricular activities are normally available for students? Do you have many clubs? Do you have some sport, like really strong teams or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So both schools are a member of TAPS, which is the largest private school sports league in the United States. So it's very competitive, gets lots of attention. So if you're a serious student athlete, Texas is a great place to be. So both schools have between 10 and 12 sports for both boys and girls. Our largest programs are American football, basketball, soccer, or football. But we also have tennis and golf and dance and cheerleading and all sorts of things. I know our cheerleading team just went to a big competition and did really well. So typically our basketball team has been really strong and our soccer team as well, swimming as well. So lots of options on the sports front. And then on top of that, of course, we have a number of fine arts opportunities. So we have theater at both schools. So if you're interested in drama or even costuming or doing theater tech or doing acting, we have that option. We also have music. So at Incarnate Word, we have an excellent choir program that has gone to the White House to sing numerous times. It's really has a lot of awards. At St. Anthony, we have a band, jazz band. We have a mariachi band, which is a Mexican style of music that we do here. So lots of different music opportunities. And then both schools have about 20 to 30 clubs every year. The number varies a little bit because they're student-led, so it just depends on what the students want to do each year. And those topics of clubs range from, honor societies or religious clubs or anime or gaming or baton twirling or whatever it might be. So all sorts of opportunities.
So why is it so important to participate in class? Because in Russia, this culture is not really widespread. Parents normally impose to some, but it's not actually promoted by schools very often. So why is it so important for Americans that students should be not only strong academically, but also have a sport activity and have clubs? How does it make them stand out?
That's a great question, and the American system is a little bit unique this way, like you say. In the United States, universities really believe that students should be well-rounded. So what that means is that they want you to not only be a great student, not only be great at academics, but also be interested in lots of different other things and also be involved on campus. So if you are the best student in your class and you're the top-ranked person, and you have a great SAT score, that's great, but you probably still would not get into Harvard because you're competing with every other top-ranked person in the whole country. So they're going to look at other things that help you stand out. So that's why it's really important to be involved on campus. And this is one reason why international students sometimes struggle applying to United States schools, because they just don't have this culture, like you say. So we encourage our students to be really involved, to start clubs, to lead clubs. Leadership experience is particularly important. So if you can show you were the president of a club, that's especially important for college applications. And it's also just a great way to meet friends. It's a great way to start to meet other people in a school where you don't know anybody. It's a great way to kind of, balance out all that schoolwork is to do some other activities as well.
Yeah, it's also about, socialization and interaction. People are just not indifferent, and that's what American society wants to have,
Mhm.
not indifferent people.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm really in love with this because I see their eyes, I see how easily they communicate, and they are very different.
Mhm.
They really care, they really do. So thank you very much. It was very
Mhm.
interesting. I will save this live, and it would be available for everybody. I would also do the timing, and I will share with you as well. Thank you
Great.
very much. We'll be in touch. If the followers have any questions, we will get in touch. And please send me some information on the immunizations because I'm sure people will ask
Yeah,
about that
absolutely.
because there are a lot of concerns about that. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. Have a
Yeah.
great day.
Yeah, you too.
And yeah, bye bye.
Bye.